All right, so in the last lecture, we looked at different types of map projections. This one, we're going to look at different types of maps that we will be using this year in human geography. And there are going to be a couple of different types of maps in general. One, there's going to be what we call reference maps. Now, these are the maps that you're probably used to using in geography. These are the ones that typically help us find locations and physical features. But the ones we'll be concerned with the most this year in human geography will be what's called a thematic map. And thematic maps display distributions or patterns over a given area of a particular human activity or characteristic. And it may, highlight a specific phenomenon or, something that we want to study and know why. All right, so we'll start with reference maps first. Probably all of you have seen a political map. A political map shows the location of what we call provinces, you know them as states, and or countries, which are actually in geography called states. And they're divided into geographic areas by boundaries or borders. And so this is what a political map looks like. Now you'll notice on a political map that the physical geography is really just not important. And what is important are the political boundaries there. Okay, the next one is called a physical map, and a physical map illustrates all the major geographical features. Now, depending on the scale of the map, you might be getting things like deltas or plateaus or basins or something like that. But for most just generic physical maps, you're looking at mountains, and you can see rivers and major bodies of water. Even though the political boundaries are still on there, they're not the star of the show here. What's the star of the show is the topography, the the differences in elevation. And then if you take a look over in the bottom left-hand corner, another thing that we should probably talk about with maps is a legend. And so you can see on this legend, it gives you icons and different sorts of information that tells you the size of cities or towns. It tells you the elevation differences, the water depth. And then if you take a look over in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, you'll see a compass rose that gives you the direction. And then back over to the legend at the very bottom of it, it gives you a scale. And in this case, kind of like a bar scale that gives you the distance in miles. All right, this next map is not something that you necessarily need to know for the test, but because you live in Colorado and because you might go hiking sometime, you may come in contact with this map and you should probably know what it is. It's called a topographical map. And a topographical map indicates changes in elevation. And so if you look at the smallest circles, those are the highest points. And then as the circles get larger and larger and larger, you're going down the mountain until you get to the largest circles, which is kind of the base or the lowest in elevation. Here's another way to look at a topographical map. This is also one of the ones we'll look at later called a choropleth, where they use different kind of colors and shade values to represent different data. And in this one, you can see that if it's pink, which very, very few of that map, very little of that map is, the pink represents the highest in elevation and the dark green represents the lowest. Okay, some other types of thematic maps that we're going to look at this year. One of them that you'll see quite a bit in this class will be what's called a dot density map. And you can see clusters of dots. And typically there will be some sort of legend or some sort of piece of information that will tell you what those dots represent. So you can see on the one on the left, you're looking at population in the United States. And then the one on the right, you're looking at tobacco farms. And so one of those dots represents 15 different tobacco farms in the United States. We'll use them mostly to show population clusters. Okay, next one is called a choropleth. And a choropleth uses different shading or colors to indicate different values or quantities of data. It really just depends. The legend will tell you what the data means. And so a lot of choropleth maps will just have colors, they'll have shades. A lot of times they'll have light colors to indicate low values of data and dark colors to indicate high values of data. But the legend will tell you what it means, and then the map maker just decides what those shades or values of data mean. Okay, a cartogram. Now, a cartogram is probably the funkiest of the different types of thematic maps. And this is the map maker's way of kind of giving you shock value. So they want to kind of shock you. They want to make you say, "Oh, wow, ooh." And so a cartogram you can always tell because the sizes of the geography have been vastly distorted, either made really, really big or really, really small, depending on what they're trying to show you. So here is a cartogram. And so as you take a look at this, you can see that some of the states in the United States have been blown up. And then others like Montana, you can see kind of at the top there, have been made pretty small. And so, whatever the map maker is trying to show you could be like population size, consumption of resources, political power, in this case, political power of states, whatever the map maker wants, that's what a cartogram shows. And then probably this one you could consider at least somewhat of a choropleth map, as you have different colors. Okay, last one that we're going to take a look at is a proportional symbol map. Proportional symbol map, or I've heard it referred to as a graduated symbol map, but I believe AP will refer to it as a proportional symbol map. Typically in these you find for each entity, in this case a state, you will have one value of data. And unlike a dot density where you'd have several clusters of dots, here you can see that the value of data is just one dot. And in this one, you can see it's Walmarts per state. And if it's a small dot, then they have very few Walmarts. And the larger the proportion gets of the symbol, in this case a circle or a dot, then the more Walmarts you have. All right, so I'm going to stop right there. And then as you see the what type there's an assignment I've posted also on Schoology that is the types of maps assignment. What I think you should do is, using your notes, you should go through it and see if you can answer those. And if you can't, then you should come back to this video, watch it again, and then that way you can answer the questions on the types of map assignment. Good luck.